Alright, what's up guys? So, a channel by the name of Lin has uploaded a video titled the Just a Robot video. Yeah, I feel like there might be a lot of you guys that don't know, but yeah, I'm doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of different videos, but I mean a lot of people have been doing a lot of different videos on Just a Robot. Like I didn't realize how many people he done upset throughout his content creating career. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what, bruh? Because I did, so that was one thing I think I remember him saying in one of his videos, that if he does decide to come back in August, I'm like, bro, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, come back, but you have to be a changed person. Like you can't come back on this same toxic energy that you once was on before, because look at where it done led you. I'm like, there's people that I've never even heard of where I'm seeing them make videos about you. Like, bro, you gotta give it a rest, man. But nah, let's see what happens. You know, I'm curious to see what's gonna go down in August surrounding him and things. I feel like he's gonna come back and it's still gonna be the same energy. But make sure, if you guys haven't, go subscribe to Lin for more videos like this. And with that being said,
Oh yeah, by the way, content warnings for what will be featured in this video. If you're one of the artists listening to this video as you draw, please tab back in just for a second so that you can be informed about what you're getting yourself into here.
yeah, it's a lot.
Man, it sure has been a while, innit? Between navigating some personal stuff and preparing for a big content shift in the future for when I come back to making content more regularly, it's safe to say that I've had my hands rather full these last few months. So to take a break from the monotony of it all, how about we clear the air here? Just a Robot is a former commentator, in brackets, I hope, who has ended up in some pretty significant controversy in recent memory for a variety of reasons. Chief of which being a video he made to defend a child.
Alright, so I guess like for those that don't really know that much about Just a Robot, this would probably be the most controversial thing that he's done. You know, even outside of the crap he done put me through, yeah, even I could say like, yeah, this is the most controversial thing that he's done throughout his content creating career. Probably done did more controversial things, but I guess this would be the more famous controversial thing. But anyways,
Predator who went by Cinebear, along with how he had been called out for asking a minor to draw NSFW artwork for him. Those are situations I don't really have much to say about. They've been covered up and down the community by now, and given that all that needs to be said thankfully was obvious, I don't really have all too much to add to the conversation there. What I do wish to talk about, however, would be a situation that has been brought to public attention more recently, as it seems that a lot of people involved have already spoken their piece about their perspective on the whole thing, and until now I've held off on doing so for three key reasons. Most importantly, of course, would be because I certainly was not as highly impacted as most of the others were, as I thankfully never had to have concerns for my physical safety when in a public place. And the second reason comes down to how I, frankly, have had better things to do than end up in a Twitter mudslinging contest with someone who routinely argues in bad faith, though we will cross that bridge when we get there, simply because more important things, like having a job, were a better use of my energy and time. That being said, my third and final reason would be because during the times where I did want to, I wasn't able to do so because I was missing a crucial audio recording that I would need in order to be able to prove the fullest extent of what happened. More specifically, the call that Mali Malware had with Jar about the issues that they were having. And I didn't have access to that call due to Mali insisting on not wanting it to go public as a means of honoring an agreement she came to with Jar to keep the situation behind closed doors. And out of
I wouldn't. I am honestly no. It's one of those things where I'm like, I highly doubt Molly Malware is gonna see this video, but I feel like that people like him have to get called out on his behavior. I feel like that if it doesn't get brought up now, it'll get brought up later. Like I think that's the messed up evil mindset that Just a Robot has, that when people start tooting his horn or whatever you want to call it, overall, when he feels that he's in that position to where he feels unstoppable, yeah, he's gonna go. I'm telling you right now, unless he comes out and says that he's like, oh, I'm never going to make a video about people again, like I'm done with the drama and all that other stuff, then yeah, maybe, you know, things can be left unsaid. But I just don't think that. I'm like, at least for me, I don't think that he's gonna stop the drama. Maybe other people, he might have them convinced, but overall, I'm like, yeah, whatever it is, it's something where I'm like, nah, it needs to see the light, because I'm like, people like him, he deserves to be in the corner. For as long as he's been harassing people and putting people in situations, even outside of me, still, it's a long list of people, bruh. I'm like, nah, he deserves to have that, you know, I guess that karma spotlight on him and things, but anyway.
Respect for the amount of skin in the game that she had, I was more than happy to honor that. And things stayed that way until the 4th of February this year, when a commentator called Beckett made a live stream releasing Mali's side of the situation, including that call. And after I had been watching the stream myself for a bit, I realized something. While Mali ultimately changing her mind on whether or not to remain silent herself is something that she was more than entitled to do, it did strike me as a bit off that Mali would take the situation to a reactionary sado who talks as if he's only 1 or 2 usages of the N-word away from being right at home in a Call of Duty lobby from before I was born.
At the risk of making Jar sound dangerously based, let's just say the racism accusations are more than just doing some voices. Now, while I don't personally care, I think that there is more than enough here that if you wanted to make that accusation, it is a reasonable one to make, and Jar getting so upset about it is absolutely insane.
Oh, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
I really do hope that the massive door that y'all are leaving open for fascistic behavior in this community by enabling this guy, rather than the people who actually pertain to the situation at hand, is getting overlooked because you guys are ignorant, rather than because you're too childish to care. TLDR, if you're left wondering why I didn't do anything about what we'll be talking about today when it happened, that's primarily because I physically couldn't supply the evidence of the full story, and now that the situation has been made a public affair in what was probably the worst way that it could have, it looks like it's as good a time as any for me to throw my hat in the ring here. So how about we start from the very beginning?
Quick history lesson.
Given how the events in question happened a good while ago now, I'm gonna be giving a quick recap of everything that led to the situation at hand here, just for the maybe 7% of you who are too busy contributing to wider society to know what's going on. On the 4th of August 2023, I released a video criticizing Just a Robot for a variety of things that left me feeling as though it would be wrong to not make our separation a public thing, as it was largely because of the content that we had made together in the past that I even have what little of a platform that I do. You can go and watch the video itself if you want to have a bit more of an understanding of my full reasons for why I made that video, but to give a brief recap, Jar had an argument with Mali Malware and Harley TBS on Twitter about a thumbnail he made comparing Spot.
I think I heard about this. I know he had Just the Robot had beef with Harley, but I didn't realize it was a situation that went down. Maybe I just forgot, but I feel like I remember him going at it with Harley on Twitter, but anyways, moving on.
To EDP. While both of them are disgusting excuses for humans in their own right, EDP making the jump to meet up with his victim in person leaves it in a place where it would be poor form to compare Spoctor to EDP in this way, as that ultimately sets the dangerous precedent forth that exaggerating someone's crime is acceptable. For some reason, Jar took this as a chance to debate me bro with Harley, and paint himself into a corner by making it look like he was holding Harley's childhood mistake over their head for no reason. And when called out on that, he decided to throw me under the bus by pretending that I agreed with his position, when all I did was give him the benefit of the doubt about whether or not he was doing this out of malice. I gave this man a
that's something that I have seen a lot with Just a Robot, is that when he gets called out for something, he blames other people. He even blamed his own fans. I call him out for being racist. He's all like, oh, that's just them fans. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, fam, please take responsibility for your actions. It's something where I'm like, it's not that hard. You know, it's like, you cause something, you gotta take responsibilities for that stuff. But him, it's like, yeah, it's pretty much like he gets called out for something, he calls out somebody else, and then he wants to turn it into a debate, versus just being like, hey, I realized some things was done, I realized some things was said, I apologize, moves on. Why do you have to turn it into something that doesn't need to be? That's the part that just confuses the life out of me. I guarantee and I promise you, like, that next video he uploads when he does decide to come back, it probably will be some drama-filled video, and he's gonna be pointing fingers at all these different people, and I'm thinking to myself, like, fam, why can't you not just do a video where it's like, it's just you by yourself? You ain't calling out nobody, you ain't talking about nobody. Like, do you think you could do a video without having to be negative towards a group of people, whatever the case may be? Just do a video where it's like you just talking about yourself. I'm like, dude, have that be your next video. Have it where it's like people, I guess, get a better understanding of you and that they can reason with you on your. But that's the thing. I feel like where he's at mentally, he's too far gone. That video is never gonna happen. But anyway.
Sentence reply, as it was merely a knee-jerk response given while I was out with some friends. But apparently, that one sentence was all he needed to start throwing around my name as if it exonerated him somehow. And all of this served to be the 777th straw to break the camel's back in terms of my patience with Jar. Because on top of this situation, he had also been continuing his anti-SJW streak that deserved to stay in 2016 where it belonged, dipping his toes in with making a mockery of trans rights activists by trying to demean the boycott against Hogwarts Legacy with faulty argumentation, while actively making the claim that the culture war doesn't matter if you're not terminally online. A position that I really wish I was privileged enough in my own life to be able to come to. Alongside continuing on with the Just a Racist arc, by at the best of times using stereotypical accents as the butt of a joke cheap enough to find it at an Aldi in Birmingham, and at the worst of times, grasping at straws to take issue with POC actors being cast in a TV series by claiming that it is misrepresenting history to have a black man playing Achilles, someone who wasn't a real historical figure. And yeah, I know, a very
you know, that is something that I have seen that before. That's why I'm like, yeah, I think that's why he can't beat them racism allegations, because I'm like, fam, why does it matter? You know, like, yeah, I guess there are some movies out there where it's like, okay, I can understand why. It's like, okay, if maybe if the video was like a black man playing as Bill Clinton or George Bush, or I'm trying to think Abraham Lincoln, then I'm like, okay, that's an argument. Or a white man playing as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or Muhammad Ali, okay, there's an argument. But I'm like, it's one of those things where it's just, I don't know, I guess I haven't really sat down and seen whatever movie that was and stuff, or know the like back history on it. But I think there's a lot of things out there where it's like, I don't know. I guess I would have to sit down, watch that video, watch the movie, and then kind of come up with my own. Maybe it is the examples that I listed off. But yeah, he has had that conversation one too many times about, I guess, movies or TV shows, whatever the case may be, where it's like, oh, it's blackwashing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I mean, my thing is this, if he's the only one talking about it, then he must be the only one that has a problem with it. It's something where I have yet to see other people talk about it. I guess the point that I'm trying to make, because I don't know, maybe it could be a problem, maybe it's not, but yeah, I've seen him talk about it. I'm like, maybe it's just a him thing. But anyway,
significant number of the people in this community these days won't care about any of that, as the Overton window has been shifted sharply to the right around these parts for some reason. But from where things stand for me, I don't particularly care to associate myself with the types of people who do this at all, let alone doing so on what was at the time a pretty sizable platform. And while that is a pretty clear-cut situation on paper, it is relevant to keep in mind that during the Twitter argument section of this video, I decided to have Doodle Tones reading Harley's tweets and Mally Malware reading her own, both of which had their involvement in this video's creation begin and end there, because my issues with Jar were my issues with Jar, nothing more and nothing less. Be sure to keep that in mind as this video continues, as it will be relevant later. But either way, there's your little refresher on what got the ball rolling, so let's talk about what Jar did next. Around a day or two after my video was released, I was in a VC with Lio Convoy, and he told me that Jar would be interested in us having a conversation about what I said. This was an idea that he had initially brought up with me as the video was in production, but I decided against it then because I understood that there would be nothing that kind of conversation would achieve. Jar had already been a terminally online Tory for far too long at this stage, and even if he did have it in him to change, it certainly wasn't the response responsibility of a then 17-year-old me to ensure that it happened. But for some reason, when Lio mentioned it a second time, I agreed, hoping on some level that, while we wouldn't ever fully see eye to eye, we could at least walk away from this without making the situation any more of a headache than it needed to be, and ensure that nothing ended up having to be made anyone else's problem. Not to mention how I, at the time, felt that it would have been ultimately better if I did communicate with Jar before my video went up to clear up any potential miscommunication where possible, so I, wrongly, felt a degree of guilt at the time for not having done so. If you feel the need to laugh at younger me for being a complete idiot for even considering any of this, then feel free to do so. Wasting my time like this was a really stupid move in hindsight. We initially started
That's the thing, though. I feel like that a lot of people, they think that they're wasting their time, I guess. Like, cause, I don't know, alright, so let me just kind of, like, think this one out and things, this thought. But, no, the thing is this, the reason why I wouldn't laugh or I wouldn't say that you were wasting your time, because I don't think anybody that's dealing with Just a Robot, like, I guess, like, if this stuff is public and then you got, like, fans of his harassing you, you're thinking along the lines, like, okay, like, I gotta defend myself, like, I gotta do something. I just say that from my own experience, like, I would say to an extent it's a waste of time, but I guess more so just how it started and how it played out. But I look at it as, like, you know, moments where I needed to, now I don't know, I guess, like, maybe it is like a future thing where it's like, you know, as the, like, road continues and things, and as you think back, it's all like, yeah, I guess you can view it that way. But at times, I don't know, I sit down and I think I was like, I was defending myself, but it's, I don't know, I guess, like, now actually thoroughly sitting down and thinking about it, it's like, yeah, you know, you're defending yourself against Just the Robot's fans. They already came up with a verdict. They already came up with a conclusion. You're guilty by default and things. So, yeah, it's something where it's like, there really isn't no, I guess, winning an argument when it comes down to Just the Robot and his fans. So, I can understand, but at the same time, it's like, in the initial moment, I'm like, I didn't, at the time being, I didn't look at it as a waste of time. I was like, fam, I was defending myself. Now I can, but back then, yeah, you know, it's just something where I was, like I said, I was defending myself. But anyway,
it's some discussion about Vincent Skullman that ended up leading to a situation on its own that you can check my videos on if you like. But instead of going over already trodden ground, how about we start with how Jar, a mere few minutes into the call, opened the main topic of conversation here with a thinly veiled threat.
Do you want to go ahead and open your statements about your video so we can go ahead and get into that, since we're already, like, 20 minutes into this? 25 minutes?
Yeah. Well, but before we do, I just want to say one more thing about the whole Vincent thing and the DMs between me and him. So when it comes to me wanting to talk to you, so do you know about the drama between me and Dual Tones?
There was the one in 2016 you're referring to.
I think it was, yeah. The Pokemon one.
Yeah.
So that was when we were both relatively small. In fact, I think we were both smaller than your channel size at the time. I did a response to Dual Tones' video. It was already getting some backlash by the time I responded to it. Dual Tones, my video blew up. Others got involved on Dual Tones' side. It made the situation blow up more. But in the end, most people were not content creators, but like the general audience was with me. And Dual Tones to this day is getting hate. And I'm trying to leave drama behind, not do any more drama content. Now, would like to theory craft here, but I thought about it and I was like, okay, Dual Tones is trans, Lin is trans. What if, like, there's a connection here? What if my video on Lin blows up? And then I was like, oh my God, she's a minor as well. She's autistic. And I was like, I legitimately didn't want to respond to your video for those reasons, because every drama I've been in, it's rough for me at first, but in the end, it turns out all right. I hate Professor Redlock. It turns out all right in my favor, but that's why I wanted to have the call with you, because
yeah, because you're having your fans do your dirty work. That's why it's going good for you. If my thing is this, without fans, without Just the Robot's fans, do you think we all would know who he is today? I feel like he would have did that Cinnamon video and not one single person would have cared. Because, well, I don't know, maybe it might be the situation where it's like, if he didn't have, like, I guess, you know, his fans, like, pretty much blowing his mind up with ideas, thinking like, oh, I'm doing something right, or my fans is gonna be, because I'm pretty sure he asked some of his fans, and there's all like, oh yeah, sure, it'd be an okay video and things, But then again, it's like, you know, you did have people telling you, it's like, you know, don't do that and stuff. So yeah, like I said though, it's like, you know, when he has his fans backing him up and things, yeah, then of course he's gonna feel like that. Oh, I've won this beef, I won this drama, and it's like, bro, without your fans, it's like it wouldn't even be no beef or drama. I'm like, it honestly, it'd be a situation. That's the reason why I say that, is because I just remember before that night in December 2016, like when I had, from that moment when I like very first had came across him all the way up until that moment, he always had to find some sort of reason to comment underneath my video, start up some stuff with me and all that. And I'm like, bro, because you're not a good content creator. That's why you're finding yourself in a situation where you feel like you need to get into it with people. You're not a good content creator. Come up with something unique. Come up with something different. But when you find yourself getting into it with people and there ain't no reason to get into it with them, and then it's like, yeah, of course you have your fans backing you up. That's why. And it's so, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, you know, maybe one day he'll realize that. But yeah, it's something where I don't know who this dude, so I've seen that name before, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if they're in the content creating today, but yeah, I think it would be, you know, right now would be the perfect time to come back. I don't know, I highly doubt they watching this video, but yeah, if I was them, I'm like, yeah, I'll come back. Seeing like op of mine's being canceled and stuff, yeah, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna come back. But anyway,
legitimately don't want you to get hate, and I judging by the likes and dislikes, oh, it doesn't look good for you already. So I was like, oh my god, if I respond to this, I can imagine how bad it would be.
Well, realistically, I will also throw out now that that's not really something that you should realistically need to worry about, because something that I'm pretty sure we both know is that a lot of my audience ended up finding me through the video that we had made together about Omnia, right? And because of that, when I was going into making that video, I was expecting to get at least a little bit of backlash to it, because realistically, in the eyes of some people, I'm biting the hand that feeds, and in the eyes of some others, you know, I'm being too much of a loony leftist, you know, because it is what it is. When a lot of your audience is found through your anti-SJW videos, that's the kind of audience you're going to end up attracting. So it is what it is. And so to an extent, I was expecting like a degree of backlash from from those people, but not to the extent where it's really anything to worry about, because again, like, it's been a few people making some, I would argue, pretty silly takes in the comment section and disliking the video, but other than that, it hasn't really gone any further. So that's not really anything to worry about.
Yeah, but if I made a response video, like,
oh yeah, that's true, yes, but
that's why.
But I mean, in terms of you saying that things aren't looking good for me already, again, it's like, even if it isn't particularly positive, it's not anything to worry about. Don't worry about it.
Well, I meant already, as in before I even made a.
Like, don't worry about it, bro. You still talking.
I know Lio wouldn't be happy with me making a response video to Minor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd drive to where you are and beat the brakes off you.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Oh yes, welcome to the conversation, Lynn. Let's just lay the groundwork out for this by making a thinly veiled threat of my audience harassing you if I do happen to respond. Just to make sure that you know I have leverage over you in the form of my audience of alt-right zealots who already have a history of giving trans people grief after we have a disagreement about Pokemon, let alone the ways in which I was throwing you under the bus to make myself look better. So as long as I don't have to respond to you, i.e. you give me what I want out of this conversation, you should be okay. And when you elaborate on the reality of why the video got what little backlash it did, I will realize that my leverage isn't something you immediately have incentive to bow down to, and I'll immediately pivot towards Lio not being happy if I responded, as if that carries any sort of weight on the moral standing of doing so in the first place. All while packaging the whole thing in this wrapping paper of false concern, which I can simply double down on if you question the sincerity of it. And we know that this thinly veiled threat was a credible one, given how, when he brought this up in his conversation with Mally, without Handler Convoy around, mind you, he ended up making the same threat a lot more directly.
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry, did everyone hear that? Hello?
She gave a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it all cut out for me for a second there. First of all, I'm not Linlin. I have no say in that video if it's up or down. I didn't script in that video. I did not see anything about that video. Linlin came to me and said, hey, Mal, do you want to voice tweets that you wrote? And I said, yes. That's the extent of my involvement. Please stop equating me to Linlin. We are not the same person. Yes.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yes,
can I speak, or is you done? Okay. I'm not saying you and Linlin are the same person. I'm saying you voiced comments in a video and added your credibility to it by being there in that video. And I was just shocked to see that. Like, you just showed up there. Like,
Why?
I haven't spoken to you in because, like, it's a video about me, you're in it, and I'm like, why is this situation still being talked?
That's his problem. I've noticed that too, that it's like, he can't just say, okay, like, if you feel that way, or not even on some stuff where it's like, you feel that way, just, all you just gotta just say is, okay, like, you don't just leave it at that. that's up where I'm like, I don't know, I find myself doing that a lot. People try to start up an argument with me. I'm like, all right, it's whatever. You know, I'm like, I'm not gonna be going back and forth with you on you got your viewpoint on stuff, I got my viewpoint on stuff, you know. And yeah, it's something where I'm like, but he just can't just like end off a conversation just be all like, okay, he got so like, okay, but I'm, you know. And then even with the apology, it's like, I'm sorry, but he always has to add a but after something and try to give out some explanation. His explanation is just pointing fingers at other people and then blaming his autism. I'm like, it's an ongoing pattern with Just a Robot. I'm like, bro, you gotta work on that. You gotta change that. I don't know how, but you just gonna have to change it. I'm like, go get some classes maybe to help you with that. But I'm like, that's not normal. But anyways,
Talked about like a month later, what the hell is going on?
So hold on. Are you telling me that it was out of pocket for Lin to talk about things that you've done in the past?
Why would you come to that conclusion?
Well, I'm asking for
You guys
clarity.
have both direct. You guys, well, with Lin, she had a direct line to me, and so did you, and so did everyone else. And I could do a response to that video, and I'm tempted to, but I'm trying to.
Can you
find a
please
peaceful
just stay on
solution.
point, Jar, and answer the question?
And before any of you try coping and say that Jar ensured us that this was out of concern for me, I'ma just say that you're an incredibly gullible person if you genuinely buy that. The reality is that my video served literally no threat to him in any way, so bringing up the idea of him responding at all only serves to bring in the connotation of him actually doing so, when again, my video ended up doing nothing to him. So the only reason he would quote-unquote need to respond would be his pride getting bruised, if that. The reality is, Jar, if you really didn't want to make that video on me as you claim, you could have just not done so, moved on with your life, and any normal person would have just been able to get over a woke teenager wanting nothing to do with them. But apparently, this man in his late 20s at the time was pathetic enough to threaten a minor an ocean away because they gave him criticism that he fully deserved, while also being too much of a
and you know, the funny thing is that he'll probably end up at some point in time seeing this video. He ain't gonna just be all like, you know, I'm sorry for what had happened, move on. He's gonna turn it into an argument. You know, that's how I view it. That's how I think how he's gonna go about after he see this video. But yeah, it's something where I'm like, even when I was making videos against him and calling him out, like, I had to say the one thing that I did call him out on was his racism, you know. And I called him out, or I more so had called his fans out for their behavior. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they allow their, I don't know, like their mindset to, I guess, more so, how can I put it in words? They allow their mindset to pretty much like overcome like what the situation is, you know, where it's like it's flat out like harassment, it's racism, but they want to turn it into something else where it's like it's not that, it's us giving you criticism. I'm like, calling me the N-word ain't criticism, you know. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, like what I was saying just with Just a Robot, like, you know, his fans, they like to turn things into arguments rather than being like, hey, on behalf of whatever fan said that, you know, rather than like, oh, those are just trolls, that's not us, but anyways, we're gonna call you the N-word. And it's like, bro, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, you know, if for those out there that don't really know his behavior, watch some people's videos and just notice that pattern. Notice that how like everybody says literally the same thing with Just a Robot. Even his old friends are saying the same thing about him. Worst enemies, whatever you want to call it. But it's just the conversation, it always remains the same on how Just a Robot carries himself. But anyway,
spineless coward to admit that's what he was doing when in the room with people who are likely to tell him to stop otherwise. Especially given how, in contrast to everyone else in this situation, Lio is an old man, so Jar would probably feel obligated to listen. But if that wasn't enough Jar self-victimization for you, how about the time where he started to bring up his delusion about how everyone's just out to get him, and how because of that, everyone around me might have been influencing my opinion on Jar for me to make my video.
To me, if you want my honest opinion, your video seems kind of like a nothing burger, and I don't have any proof for this, but I think you were influenced by certain people to make it.
I'll disagree with that one. I genuinely think that this is Lin's thought process.
It is, yes.
And I think that's fine. Again, when we were talking earlier in Bored Orange's case, I think that because these people genuinely have like similar values, that it's going to seem sometimes like they're influencing each other, when the truth is they tend to culminate because they have the same values.
Yeah.
And if not, we'll find out.
Yeah, because every time people like, it was just like remember how mad that group between Luke, Creepshow, Kai, and the others got when I said I wonder if they're in Discords together, and they're like, oh, no, we're not. And then later it was revealed, no, they absolutely were. Like, oh, holy shit. So like, yeah, I don't know if sure maybe this are Orange's or Lin's opinions.
It's like you do the same thing. I'm like, I don't know how many times people that told me that you and your fans was sitting around in Discord servers talking about me. So that it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, you're getting a taste of your own medicine. It's called karma. You need to understand that. But anyway.
But if it's not, the truth eventually comes out. So whether I'm right or wrong, eventually we'll know.
Yeah. And even if it is her genuine opinions and her genuine thoughts, I know from Lyle's wisdom that blood runs thick in this community. So I would keep that in mind when we take full accountability for beliefs and thoughts. Let's make sure that they are our own thoughts through and through. We won't get second chances in the court of public opinions, unfortunately. That's just how the internet works.
Yeah. Because we really do love the feeling of having your sense of agency stripped away from you, just so that some Reddit mods can feel delusional senses of victimhood. We absolutely love trying to sow seeds of doubt in a miner's head, making them doubt the intentions of people they considered friends, just to find some sort of exterior reason that they would criticize you, without leaving yourself with any of the blame. Like, at what point am I able to just tell you to grow up and admit to being wrong for once? From there, the call was basically just Jar arguing us in circles of me saying what I took issue with, Jar reiterating his point without bringing much new to the table from what his videos had already put across, me trying to find some way to get through to him and being shot down at every single turn, Lio sporadically stepping in to prevent the conversation derailing where possible, rinse and repeat. It's a conversation that goes absolutely nowhere, and was an incredibly dull waste of my evening that simultaneously was hell to a 17-year-old me, as I felt obligated to stay there as a result of Jar's manipulation tactics, and didn't really know how to communicate the sheer farce that the situation was. But whatever, right? Jar gets his little debate me bro moment, and is allowed to force me to listen to him stamping his feet, under the threat of sending targeted harassment my way if I didn't. And with all that said, you'd expect that he'd be satisfied with the sheer amount of ground being given to him that he was in no way entitled to. But no, because if you genuinely hoped that Jar would do the reasonable adult thing of moving on with his life after we resolved this argument on his terms, then you clearly have had too much grass in your immediate vicinity to know who Jar is.
Crashes out. Uh-oh.
In the immediate term after our call ended, you would hope that that's all there is to it. But after I put a copy of our VC recording in the group DM, so that Lio and Jar could have access to it themselves, I left a pinned comment on the video that started all of this to make both of the adjustments that I felt were important to make after walking away from the conversation. But Jar didn't seem to be too happy about this comment only making adjustments where we found compromise, and he instead wanted me to adjust for literally everything he took issue with, in spite of us not sharing his incredibly warped perspective. Mischaracterizing my point about his Hogwarts Legacy video as taking issue with him merely mocking people for participating in the boycott, when my point was more so that he used faulty argumentation to do so, saying that Oranges took down his tweets about Jar's Disney Remakes video making a racist joke, and apparently that should matter to me because Nama Jeff, I guess, suggesting that my reason to keep the video up seems insignificant when he only focuses on a single point of it to do so, which is definitely my fault and not a result of his terminal need to be the victim by abstracting the conversation within an inch of its life, and flat out lying to my face about how he wasn't using me as a shield in his argument with Harley and Mally, when that is so obviously untrue to anybody paying attention to that situation that I couldn't then, nor now, be asked to entertain it. And then peace and quiet. I didn't have to hear about Jar ever again, and this video could end right now, right? Well, no, because about a month after this whole shtick is over, a friend of mine called Fractured Light ends up in an argument of his own with Jar concerning a smaller creator who goes by Communist Creeper. And for some reason, Jar took Light bringing up our past situation in passing, as an example of the more mature way to go, mind you, as an opportunity to lie about how I had apparently taken the L on almost everything we talked about. That simply didn't happen. Sure, there would be some points in the conversation where I would realize that a certain talking point was exhausted, primarily because of Jar running us in circles, where I'd simply move on with the conversation, but that's not me taking the L or getting almost everything wrong, as Jar spins it as here. This might be a shock to you, Jar, but someone not responding doesn't mean you're right. It means they don't see a need to continue the argument. And when arguing with you is about as eventful—
that's how the funny thing is like, that's how it was. And here's the thing. So this is more so like my experience when I've done that with Just a Robot. Overall, just like not responding and just ignoring him and stuff. That's when his fans, they want to. And so here's the thing, like, in a way, I have to say, like, from that 2016 to 2020 period, like, where I was just getting the non-stuff. Well, actually, no, 2019, because I have to say 2020, I gave up on the drama and stuff. I was like, no, I'm done with that. Not going to go back. But just throughout that period of, like, okay, I'm just going to ignore you guys and just focus on myself, they still try to, like, find a way to add themselves into whatever like other thing I was talking about, something separate from them. It's not even beefing, drama, or none of that. I could be shouting out a friend, doing a reaction, making music, whatever the case may be, and they'll still figure out some sort of way to get themselves involved. So I think that and I don't know when exactly like this stuff hit. Well, I don't think his fans, they were really all that active, because if this was after 2020, yeah, it seemed like that his fan base, they kind of started slowing down with their behavior, because I think they realized it's like, yeah, we gonna mess around and get canceled one day. We gotta stop with this. So, but yeah, but the thing is this, it happened for so long, his fans like just gassing him up for stuff, that he just has it made up in his mind that, oh, if I get into it with a person and they don't want to argue no more, then therefore I won the beef, I won the drama. And I'm like, no, they realize that it's trying to explain things to you is pointless. You're gonna see things from your point of view, and it could be the wrong way of seeing things. You still gonna look at it as like, oh well, it's my thought process, so that technically means that I'm right. And so yeah, just anybody out there, I know that there's people out there, they want to get into it with Just a Robot. Please just save yourself the stress. It's gonna be pointless. Even right now with all this crap going on, it's gonna be pointless. But anyways,
as paint drying, most people just don't bother, because trying to get you to see how you're in the wrong isn't worth the effort. Especially when you can't even be honest with Light about the way in which I was going to make the adjustments I needed to, claiming I said I would do so in an entire follow-up video on the situation, when I never said that. And unfortunately, it wasn't just me and Light who had to learn this lesson about Jar for too long, because another month later, Jar decided to send his voice note to Mally Malware to let her know how much of a slight it was to have her read her tweets in my video.
The problem I have with you is that you were in a video with Lin, adding your credibility to it. A video that, mind you, has 50% as many dislikes as likes. I haven't even responded to that video yet. A video that goes over shit we talked about a month ago. A video that says you can't call yourself a trans ally if you buy a f***ing Harry Potter game. I told the truth about you in the comment I made on Twitter. You had a problem with my stalker thumbnail. I offered to talk things out with you in private. You refused to. I changed it, and then you had a problem with my video that both Leo Convoy and Hopeless Peaches looked over before I uploaded it. I do apologize for the messages I sent to you as we were both going to VidCon. I'm not very good at talking through text, and after Leo Convoy pointed it out to me, I see that what I said was inappropriate, and I do apologize for that. That being said, I don't think leaving a comment about you on Twitter and talking to people about what you did on Discord is even close to as bad as giving your credibility to a video that got over 10,000 views. Whichever way you slice it, you threw the first stone. That's something I've never really understood about you ArchCC people. You seem to all really want me to leave you guys alone. Ever since it all started with Geeky Girl Heather, Lulu, and the others, well, they made the first couple of videos on me. In fact, come to think of it, back then I don't think I fought back at all. Doodletones and her friends wanted me to leave them alone, but she made the first video on me. Same with Junkie, Luke, Creepshawart, and the list goes on. Aside from maybe Daft, Kai, and Omnia, I've never started it. If you guys want someone to not bother you, well, good first step is to not attack them first. Crazy concept.
It's like, fam, follow your own advice. The funny thing is that I feel that a lot of his fans will say that I threw the first punch when it came down to me and Just a Robot. But when we're going all the way back in 2016, when I had did that video, Defending Reactors, the video, like the first video he talked about and stuff when it surrounded me, before that, I didn't know who he was. We never had a conversation. He was never in my comments. I never seen any of his videos. Most likely, if that situation between me and him had never happened, if he had never made a video on me, I probably wouldn't even have known of this situation that's going on right now between him, Cinnabare, and everybody else that's going after him and stuff. People would have been probably asking me about it, and I'm like, no. Like, I'm telling you, like, right now, if I, like, let's say if I had just discovered all this stuff, this would be my first time ever hearing about Just a Robot. But I'm like, fam, you literally did the same thing to me. What are you even talking? Then when I responded the way that I wanted to respond, then it was a problem. So yeah, that's why I'm like, it doesn't matter whether you throw the first punch or he throw the first punch. My thing is this. He's gonna if he finds some sort of way to make a video. The funny thing is like I could even probably just left it at that, where he just made a video on me and I just brushed it off. I'm like, I'm not gonna even respond to the video. I'm just gonna mind my own business. He still would have been finding ways to be making videos about me and stuff. So yeah, that's why it's like again, his thought process is different. It's weird. It's one of those things where I'm like, to anybody out there that's all like, no, I want to make a video on Just a Robot, please save yourself the stress. It is not worth it, all right?
Except I know. I would love to respect your wishes and walk the other way, but that video is still up. I'm still receiving comments and harassment over it. Even if you guys take it down, well, it still happened. People remember it. Maybe I could respond to it, but how much hate would you and Linlin get if I did that? To give you some perspective, I responded to Doodle Tones roughly over half a decade ago. I was a little guy back then. She's still receiving harassment to this day. And she didn't say every single person who buys a Harry Potter game is a transphobe. I want to make that clear.
And I'm left with a few things to say here. First of all, the claim that my videos on Jar sent harassment his way is one that I still, to this day, have never been supplied with any evidence of. To draw the obvious line in the sand here now, if any members of my audience
and my thing is this, if this was, I don't know when exactly this was, but my thing is this, I'm like, if you're, let's say like prior before you had did that Cinnabare video, let's say your next video is about like whatever, Disney movie, me or something, do you honestly think that, okay, you do a video about me, I guarantee and I promise you, every single comment is going to be about one of your fans cracking a joke on me. Do you honestly think that it is affecting your channel where you're getting like a few dislikes? Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, bruh, I'm like, then, oh, it's like, you don't like that, huh? You don't like when people make videos on you and talk about you and then bring hatred your way. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that, but you literally did the same thing to other people. So it's like, don't be surprised when that stuff happens to you, but anyway.
Have seen my video and harassed Jar because of it, then that's absolutely reprehensible behavior and I do not condone it in any way. That being said, I do find it rather suspect that Jar would only mention that 2 months into this whole situation. Not at the very start of the situation, where he could have mentioned it to the person whose video it actually was, only now that he's trying to get Mally into having a conversation with him, something that he'd know to be a difficult task due to how he had acted towards them shortly beforehand in their situation at VidCon. To say the least, I don't particularly buy it. Second of all, where is this accusation coming from about people getting upset at you for changing your thumbnail after they asked you to? As far as I'm aware, that just didn't happen. And third of all, how does Mally reading her own tweets give her credibility to my video at all? All that happened between us concerning that video's creation was that I asked her if she wanted to read those tweets, she said yes, read the tweets, and did nothing else. None of which is even remotely an endorsement of what the video says. Why are you so desperate to walk away from this with some sort of childish victory that you will make such a leap in logic as this, and then threaten Mally with responding to my video, putting the potential harassment of a minor on her conscience, which is made even worse with how I frankly don't really have all too much faith in the idea that Jar is even being honest with how much he cares about Mally's involvement in my video in the first place, as she only ended up reading 2 tweets during it, and yet Doodle Tones read out significantly more, as Harley had much more to say in that situation than Mally did. But when Jar was confronting Doodle, someone who was one of Jar's editors at the time, and therein giving him something, he seemed to handle her a bit differently.
So I will try to be cordial in this because I was going to wait till your health got better because you've been going through some stuff and it's not that big of a deal. But, so I'll try to make it also quick because I know you have to get back to, doing your other things. And don't worry, I'm still going to give you the extra 50 once I have some extra cash laying around because, like, I think you need it with what you're dealing with.
Fair enough. So what is this exactly about that you needed to talk about?
Well, basically, I've been kind of paranoid with the Art CC as of late because I feel like there's another dogpile Jar coming. But with Mal, I was a lot more upset with her because of the her complaining about tweet comment I made and talked about it in a very entitled way, but I was exhausted from that conversation that we had yesterday. That was exhausting. But I'm not really pleased with Linlin's video, but what's more important is I'm not super happy with you or Mal being in it. Now, I'm not saying you agree with all of Linlin's points, but like I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place because like on the one hand, I disagree with pretty much that entire video, but on the other hand, if I make a response, how Lin will have to deal with a lot of harassment and my fan base is crazy, so...
Yeah, alright, we get it. You have leverage. Get over yourself. So when the person you have use for does it, it's not a big deal. But when it's someone who already didn't like you anyway, doing it significantly less, then it's bad enough to get incredibly aggressive with them and accuse them of gaslighting you when they don't just bend the knee.
Okay,
And I just said something true about you, and then I... Wait,
No, you're going into a different topic, because you started with, it's funny that you disliked me as soon as everyone else started disliking you. Jar, do you remember what that comment I just sent you was directly after?
After the whole Stalker...
No, it was after VidCon, when you said some truly out-of-pocket shit about guns and... Jar,
oh my god, you're just gaslighting. You actually don't think that.
Finish. You made me uncomfortable.
Jar, you're not saying the things that you're saying because you actually believe
It's
them.
like, how you gonna tell somebody how to react to that? How you gonna tell somebody? It's like, that girl felt threatened. I'm saying, like, it's one of those things where, yeah, that's what you can just tell. I had to believe him when he says that he has a girlfriend and he talks like that to people. I'm like, nah, bro. It's one of those things where I'm like, you know, you definitely, yeah, you a character, all right, but you get back to that situation where he was sending her that weird message where he was all like, oh, don't say like, oh, I don't know, I can't like remember word for word what he said, but yeah, overall, like, repeating what she said and things, yeah, I think anybody would feel uncomfortable after you get a message like that from somebody, because it's like, you out here mentioning guns, and it's like, bro, who's talking about that? You're the only one that's thinking along those lines. So I'm like, is that what you really want to do? So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, yeah, that's just, I guess, my advice to Annie and everybody out there, how Just a Robot talks to women and just overall people. Don't do that. Alright, avoid that at all costs, but anyways.
You're saying them as a means of moving a piece across the board in terms of maximizing the value you get out of a given conversation and the people they're with. And seeing as that is your attitude, then I very much pity anyone dumb enough to stick by you at this stage. You don't see people as people so much as just tools to get what you want. If you're going to use it as a means of trying to emotionally guilt trip multiple people into enforcing your victim complex, then leave your platform. You simply can't be trusted with one. Simple as. The fact of the matter is that the conversation that we had about my video was had on your terms, and so I don't particularly appreciate being used as a tool just so that you can win the argument that ultimately has its root in paranoia caused by different people. And while I'm certainly not gonna act as if I don't understand where Jar's fear of people working to stab him in the back comes from, it stops being as simple as that when he starts making it everyone else's problem.
I know people, they blame me for the subscribers and views, because I from what I've seen and heard, that yeah, he brings that up a lot, and still even to this day kind of in these videos where he talks like on how big his fan base, and I'll admit that did start with me. But yeah, as far as anything else, I'm like, his paranoia, I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I can't say that I was the reason for his paranoia, but overall, like, bringing up views and fan bases and subscribers and all, I do take responsibilities for that. So I guess I do apologize on that, you know, to anybody that has fallen victim to Just a Robot feeling like he needs to bring that up and things. But yeah, anyways.
Problem.
Let me cut this down for you real quick. There isn't a situation. The quote-unquote situation is that I don't like you, and I don't want anything. Let me finish. I don't like you, and that's it. It doesn't have anything to do with oranges. It doesn't have anything to do with Linlin. I don't know why you're making it like some sides situation. There is no sides. I just don't like you. You said some out-of-pocket shit to me at VidCon. You made me very uncomfortable, and I don't want you in my spaces. That is not a situation, and the idea that you're running around behind the scenes being like, oh, Mally and the entire commentary community is trying to do something to me is fucking wild. I don't know why you're behaving that way, and you need to knock it off.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
Funny that you started not liking me around the same time everyone else did. Kind of sus.
No, Jar. Stop.
Yes, Mally.
He's still trying to flip it on some other stuff.
You let me finish.
That's fair. Go on.
Sorry for raising my voice on you. I apologize. Like, when you send me messages like, hey, Jar, I just saw this, and I want to ask you to just keep away from me, and from me online and offline, I have any desire for public nonsense, especially petty nonsense like this. So I'd appreciate it if you could just be an adult and realize we simply don't get along. Now keep it moving. Like, the entitlement. You're a public figure.
So as far as you're concerned, a woman expressing her boundaries and telling you no is entitlement. So Jar, if you're watching this video and you want to know why I insinuated at the start of this video that you're a misogynist, it's because...
So his reason for why he has, I guess, for some reason to approaching her is because she's a public figure. Fam, even public figures want their privacy. That, I'm telling you, man, he's somebody where I'm like, no, he has to be questioned. That's not normal. That is not a normal thought process, bro. Like, so, all right, so my thing is this. Let's say if there was somebody out there that really had issues with you, and they found out where you live. They found out, oh, you're going to be at this public area? Cool. I'm going to go over there and mess with you. I'm going to go over there and chase you around and do all these other... The funny thing is, he'll say something like that, go against what he said, like, sometime later when he goes through it himself. So, I'm not hearing that. It's like, fam, even if the person is a public figure, private figure, whatever type of figure, if they tell you to leave them alone, respect it. That's it. You ain't got to chase them around. You ain't got to continue on the conversation. My thing is this. If somebody tells me to leave them alone, I'm like, hey, you ain't got to tell me twice. I'm moving on. Yeah, I'll probably question it. I'm like, I don't know what I did to that person, but if they want me to leave them alone, I will respect their wishes. I'm not going to be this, oh, let me, I guess, like, try to figure out or talk behind. Nope. I'm like, they got to do their thing. I'm going to do my thing. That's the end of that. So I'm like, that book finished up, closed, done, chapter done, all that stuff. I have no reason to continue on conversating with that individual. If they don't want nothing to do with me, I ain't gonna be petty. I ain't gonna be, if my thing is this, and I always leave that door open where it's like, if me and a person that I didn't really get along with, if our paths cross and we get to conversating, then it's like, okay, that'll be that. But I'm like, yeah, it's one of those things where I just, if a person don't want to be bothered with me, I can recognize that. I don't even allow them to tell me that they don't want to be bothered with me. I'm like, no, I just don't be bothered with them. I'm like, I guess, like, I don't come out and say it, but I'm like, I can recognize it. And yeah, I'm like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. So let's just leave it at that. But yeah, he can't have that for some reason.
Because you are.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm way more sexist than I'm racist.
If I do say so myself, Jar, I do find it to be a bit tone deaf, to say the least, for me to have thrown you a bone at pretty much every stage of this situation until now, and to still have you fall back on this awful delusion about how all of this was some sort of conspiracy to bring you down. The reality here, Jar, that you might not be able to understand is that you're not the center of the universe. At the end of the day, people simply have more pressing things to do with their time than ruining your career for the sake of it. And so I don't appreciate being blackmailed myself at the best of times and being used to blackmail others with at the worst of times, just so that you can try to prevent this hypothetical that doesn't track with reality. But that's just about all I have to say on the matter. Being able to feel some semblance of closure on all this has definitely been worth the wait, and I'm glad that I'm able to tie up this loose end as I start wrapping up my time in commentary. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and want to help support me, then feel free to subscribe to the channel, or better yet, become a channel member. But for just £5 a month, you can have your name displayed at the end of all the videos here, and see those videos uploaded a day in advance. And with all that said, I've been Lin, and you can catch me again when I've got the time to finish a video that's been on the back burner for far too long.
Yeah. You know what I honestly think? I think Just a Robot, he's probably gonna come back and he's gonna do this, like, this mega video where he just goes after everybody. Because I'm saying there is literally so many people going after him right now. And I'm like, man, it's insane to me. But yeah, he's going to probably do a mega video where he just goes after everybody. He's like, if I'm going to go out with a bang, I am going to go out. It ain't even going to be on some stuff where he's like, if I'm going to go out with a bang, he's going to go out with a boom. Like, it's going to be some nuclear explosion. And it's one of those things where it's like, it ain't going to do anything to anybody. They're going to just be all like, oh, okay, Just a Robot made a video on me. And I'm like, he ain't no position to, I guess, have, like, power, leverage, or use his fans against me and things. Yeah, there's still some of his fans that, like, they try to, like, I guess, keep the legacy alive. But other than that, yeah, he's not in no position, I guess, right now to be making videos about people and stuff. And then, I guess, trying to do something to their channel. But that's the thing where it's like, that's one thing I don't think he realizes, that it's like, okay, just using me as an example, you made videos on me. You had it where your fans was leaving hate comments left and right, dislike rating my videos and stuff. I still was uploading videos. So it's really one of those things where it's like, do your fans really do anything? It's like they pretty much do. I guess, like, I don't know, there's some people out there where they're not as thick-skinned as me, and I could just let that stuff just roll right off and then just ignore it. But yeah, and that's something that I do encourage any and everybody that does get involved with Just a Robot. You gotta be a thick-skinned person, you know, because he is gonna try to use that against you, his fans. But it's like, you also gotta sit down and think about that too. Without his fans, he's just another random guy that's trying to voice out his opinion on some stuff that don't matter. So it's like that's the thing where it's like he looks at it as, like, you know, he says something and then he's just like, oh, his crowd starts cheering and going crazy and stuff. But it's like, I don't know, I guess, like, talking to him, it's like, imagine that, but with that, like, you say what you need to say, but your fans ain't there. What do you got? Nothing. So, like, I guess, like, that's how you really got to look at things, but he's not. His mind has been made up on stuff, and yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? Let's just let him do what he needs to do. Maybe then it might put him in a position where he's all like, I can't do this no more. Like, I gotta quit content creating, and he just disappears. So if he does do some mega video going after everybody, I'm like, that's his funeral at the end of the day. But anyways, make sure if you guys haven't, go subscribe to Lin for more videos like this. Like, subscribe to me too, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.